At the time of recording, Nope has earned $44 million in its domestic debut, with 1 day remaining in its opening weekend. This makes it the largest opening weekend for an original screenplay since 2019's Us, which is also directed by Jordan Peele. It's challenging for stories unassociated with a pre-existing IP to make any substantial money in today's industry landscape. Peele is one of the few who has brought in notable earnings based upon his original stories. There's certainly something to say about the brand of his own name, but his movies are also deeply resonating with large groups of people, which isn't something you can accomplish by name alone, so I'd like to dissect the writing in his work to show you why. Part 1. Chekhovs Gun. This is the dramatic principle that no element of your story be unnecessary, lest it be removed. Nothing should exist without being later reincorporated. If there's a rifle hanging on the wall, that better be used later in the movie. Recent big studio projects are absolutely plagued by meaningless additions to their movies because they have checklists to meet rather than stories to tell. In an age where disjointed, meandering stories are the norm, Peele is extraordinary at demonstrating the power and necessity of Chekhov's gun. When an element is cleverly reincorporated, it will cause the audience satisfaction. Let's look at 3 examples of reincorporation in Nope. First, as our main characters, OJ and M, drive into town, they pass these flappy inflatable men. It's a nice visual touch for leading lines that fills out some world building, but instead of letting that be all it serves as, these inflatable figures become a key tool to the characters later. Second, as M enters a fair, she finds a well that takes photos as you look down into it. This is another element that is used to establish the tone of a location, but it is also a key tool to M later when she needs to capture a perfect photograph. The key element to reincorporation is that whether it be a prop, location, line of dialogue, or anything else, is that it serves a different function both times it comes into play. These 2 examples are both world-building elements initially, but then become essential tools to the success of the character in the second instance. In Nope, this tool is also used for building character motivations, which brings us to the 3rd example. There is a cinematographer whom we only briefly see throughout the film until the latter third. In these brief snippets we get of him, he always has videos of predator animals playing on screens in the background. In this introduction to the visuals, they fill out an aesthetic for the space which reaffirms the idea of him being a cinematographer. But the specific images show his fascination with predators, which, later on, explains why he's willing to help OJ and M capture the images of the UFO. No exposition needed, just images that fill in who he is. These images are not explicitly shown again later on, but as his character comes into play, they are subconsciously reincorporated, because suddenly new meaning is gleaned from them. Part 2. Structure. It's a common mistake for horror movies to show their hand too early in the movie. You can look at any of these examples to recognize that. This makes boring and familiar movies. With Nope, Peele takes full advantage of structure to both hold the audience's attention and create something that escapes common tropes and stereotypes of the genre to truly create something dramatic, original, and memorable. All you have to do is watch the trailer for Nope to understand that Peele is very careful with the information he shares. He does not want to prematurely reveal information about the movie because the order and timing in which he reveals everything within the film is what makes it work so well as an experience. Let me elaborate. The rest of this video will contain light spoilers for Nope. The first third of Nope is dedicated to building characters and debunking alien movie tropes to its advantage. We all expect the aliens to get out of the ship. This movie takes that presupposition and tricks us with it. There is, in fact, a scene where OJ finds aliens in his barn at night, but it turns out to just be some people who he stole a horse from. This film still takes a moment to build tension off of the things we recognize, but then it debunks it before it would become stale. Because of this structure of teases and debunks, the film has time to build up to the point where it actually does reveal its hand, and that section of the film is not drawn out too long or becomes boring because of it. It's not always about what information you're conveying, but when and how you convey it. Presentation is paramount. Part 3. Conflict Cohesion. Nope successfully ties its internal, external, and philosophical conflicts together, which is a very rare feat for blockbusters. Let's take a look at how it accomplishes this. The internal conflict of Nope begins with OJ's insistence on providing by his own work. He does not believe in relying on others, but it's becoming a challenge to find work by the means his father taught him. The external conflict ties directly into the internal conflict. The family farm is centered around training horses for films, but real horses are being phased out for special effects. Money is scarce, and he's having to make decisions about what to do with the farm assets and reputation. This is a direct chemistry between the internal and external, and then the obvious external event happens. A UFO starts nosing around. OJ and M decide to capture a perfect recording of this UFO so they might restore the farm's reputation, based upon the fact that their initial name was built off their great-great-grandfather starring in the first motion picture ever taken. Throughout this journey, the characters have to consistently sacrifice more of their assets and resources in order to achieve this, and take more and more responsibility into their own hands, teaching them lessons about self-sustainability and worth. While those internal and external conflicts are perfectly engaging on their own terms as a blockbuster, the true meat of the film comes into light when Peele channels those through a philosophical idea. Peele expresses the idea that we take advantage of horrific events in order to profit or make entertainment out of it. The internal, external, and philosophical conflicts are all woven together neatly so that they are inseparable. This accomplishes a compelling character piece, adventure-packed blockbuster, and a social commentary-driven think piece that offers much to chew on. It's important to note that much of the success of this is that Peele does not simply put these ideas in his film on a surface level, but he takes a definite stance on the topics at hand by resolving these conflicts. Part 4. Peele's stance. By the conclusion of the film, a clear stance on the subject matter is taken. While in the end the characters achieve their goal of capturing the images of the UFO, ultimately this success is headlined by the great many sacrifices that were taken to get there. They used other people, sacrificed their morals, took advantage of other people's deaths, and become worse people for it, but they do get their financial success at long last. This film presents a tragic arc for our protagonist, which shows that Peele does not view this as a success for the characters. Many characters find material success through taking advantage of tragedies throughout the story, but Peele ultimately believes this is wrong. Jupe, for instance, sells merchandise based around a previous tragedy he lives through, but ultimately this leads to his downfall. Various characters are in steep competition to get the images, but that's his way of showing this is a widespread problem rather than something we should all embrace. There are several other veins in which Peele juxtaposes the ideas within the film with his own beliefs. For instance, taking the idea of discrediting others and leveraging their work for your own benefit, we can see that Peele hates the idea of his own crew being overshadowed by himself. He wants to give credit where it is due. I recognize this in the lovingly used set lingo throughout the film. OJ also wears a hoodie with the word crew on it that's an actual hoodie the actor earned on the set of an early 2000s movie. In conclusion, I would love to break down the script of this film in an in-depth format someday, but hopefully this overview analysis teaches you this. Nope is satisfying because no time is wasted. Everything in the film is essential and ties into the greater narrative, usually being cleverly reincorporated for satisfaction and depth. Nope is structured well so that it avoids the genre pitfalls to instead provide a dramatic, memorable story that resolves its conflicts in meaningful ways. The internal, external, and philosophical conflicts within Nope all properly tie together into a cohesive vision which results in a satisfying character piece, adventure blockbuster, and social commentary think piece all at once. The philosophical ideas within the film are not hollow representations because Peele actively takes a stance on the arguments by resolving the conflicts within the climax of the film. This results in a film that has something to say through the journeys of the characters. Jordan Peele's movies resonate because they are meaningful, exciting stories. This is a challenge most movies do not live up to. If you enjoyed the video or found it informative, leave it a thumbs up, but if you thought it could have been better, leave it a thumbs down so that I know to do better next time. I'll see you later.